Chapter 15. Sources of Water. Do you know that water is very important for our survival? There are many sources like lakes, rivers, ponds, rains, and wells, from where we get water. The water is required for irrigating the fields where crops are grown. There are various devices used for irrigation, namely sprinkle irrigation, flood irrigation, and water wheel. In this chapter, you will learn about the various sources of water, ways to store water, and different methods of irrigation to grow crops in detail. So, let us read how is it explained in our book. Water is one of the most common substances around us. Water in its pure form has no taste and smell. We can see water in the seas, oceans, rivers, streams, lakes, and ponds. These are natural sources of water. Sources of water. In early times, people used to draw water from many sources. Number 1. Rain. Rain is one of the main source of water on the earth. Rain fills up rivers, lakes, streams, and ponds. Rainwater is the purest form of natural water. Number 2. Bouleys, step walls. A bouleys is a huge well. It has steps for reaching the bottom. Bouleys were built for collecting and storing rainwater. This water was used by people for drinking and other household activities. Bundi is one of the districts of Rajasthan with 381 bouleys all over. It is also called City of Step Wells. Number 3. Piaus. In the past, wells with water stands were made on highways by some kings for providing water to travelers. These were called piaus. Even today, we see piaus in some temples, gurudwaras, or roadsides. At piaus, water is served free of cost to the people. So, piaus are charitable water spots in public areas. Number 4. Oceans and seas. They cover more than 2/3 of the Earth's surface. But due to the presence of salt, these waters are not fit for drinking. Water distribution. The source of water distribution in a city is lake or a river. However, that water is not fit for drinking. So, before supplying that water to homes, it must go through chemical processes for purification. This is done in water treatment plants. Sometimes water supplied to us contains simple impurities. People use filters or water purifiers to purify it. Water for irrigation. We know that, like us, plants also need water to live. They absorb water from the soil. In our country, the main source of water for crops is the monsoon. The farmers depend on rains. However, some areas upon receive less or no rainfall at all. Different crops need different amounts of water for growth. Note that paddy, means rice, needs a lot of water, while some crops like bajra grows with little water. In order to reduce our dependence on rains, we need to irrigate the plants. Means of irrigation. Irrigation means supplying of water to the plants by means other than rich, such as rivers, canals, wells, tube wells, and tanks. The government has undertaken many dam projects to check and collect river water in a very big reservoir for irrigation purposes. There are many multi-purpose dams on big rivers. Dams are used for irrigation, human consumption, generation of electricity, and assimilation of existing water content for controlling flood situations. Open wells. It is a narrow and deep dug hole in the ground. Underground water is easily available there. Water is lifted from the well with the help of a pulley. A pulley is a wheel with a ground outer rim. Tube wells. Tube wells are deep bores into the earth, and water is withdrawn through them by means of hand pumps. People also use electric pumps to draw out water from tube wells nowadays. Canals. In some areas, small canals are dug to take water from the rivers for the fields. They are called canals. Tanks. In the southern plateau, the ground is hard. it is difficult to dig wells there. During the rainy season, some low-lying areas get filled with water. These are called tanks. Devices used for irrigation. Our farmers are now using different methods of agriculture for food production. Sprinkle irrigation. In sprinkle irrigation, water is distributed through pipes using a pump. The pipes have spray heads at regular intervals on the standing crops in the form of artificial rain. Flood irrigation. Under flood irrigation method, channels are dug and flood water is allowed to spread over fields from a high level. The water thus slowly spreads over the fields depending upon the slope of the land. Water wheel. It is a device that rotates when flowing. Water strikes the metallic buckets. As the wheel rotates, the water in the buckets fall on the other side and is directed into water channels, which take it to crops. The water is also used for supplying drinking water, grinding grains, and producing electricity. Keywords: bore, a deep hole in the ground. Underground water. Water found below the earth's surface. Now children, let us revise what we learned in this chapter. Now I know. Bowlies are step wells. They are used for storing rainwater. Water is one of the most common substances around us. Rain is the purest form of water. Open wells, tube wells, tanks, and canals are the different sources of irrigation. PIAOs are water tanks made on the roadsides for providing drinking water. Irrigation means supplying water to crops by artificial means. Sprinkle irrigation, flood irrigation, and water wheels are methods used for irrigating crops.